Once again, we're keeping track with Dino Alberto, local motorsport journalist who just had a great opportunity recently, voted in the NASCAR Hall of Fame for the class of 2020 as a representative, as president of the Eastern Motorsport Press Association. Dino, you had an interesting way to put this, the way you were describing it to me right before we went on the air, comparing it to the movie The Ten Commandments. Well, why are you making that comparison?
Kenny, it was, as I told you, when Moses went up on the mountain and came back down with the tablets, and he was had the white beard, and he just had the great revelation and everything. That's how I felt after I came out of that whole ordeal there. It was just quite an amazing experience for me, for all I've done in this sport.
But you've done, not saying this wasn't amazing, but you've rubbed shoulders with some of these, big time drivers before. And that, what made this so different and so incredible?
I pride myself on working with all of the local racers here in Northeast PA, from the Hazleton area and beyond. And being down there amongst the elite, these were the kingpins of the sport that were there. Richard Petty walks in. Dale Jarrett is meandering around there. All these television icons are coming in, and Edsel Ford, yes, that Edsel Ford comes in and sitting there. They're talking with you. They're just having lunch together with us, and it's as if you knew these people the whole time. And as they're mentioning your name, you stand up and they recognize you. At the end of the day, they're asking me, how did you enjoy it? Did you have a good time? Wasn't this something? And it was just kind of surreal in a way, but very special to know that I had the opportunity to represent not only the Eastern Motorsport Press Association, but I'm there as a representative of the entire Northeast. To me, that's how I got there in the first place.
Now, the people who did get in, Joe Gibbs, Bobby Labonte, Buddy Baker, Waddell Wilson, and Edsel Ford, what exactly stood out? I mean, with that group right there, maybe going through each one really quickly, why do you think there they are. What should people know about them?
Tony Stewart is in on that deal too. Very interesting. Joe Gibbs, Bobby Labonte, and Tony Stewart. Somebody actually, I'll tell you this, somebody made a good point that Joe Gibbs, as the car owner, those were his two drivers, and how unique it would be to have that trio there. But their numbers actually spoke for themselves as to why they should be there. Buddy Baker, he may not have had the numbers as far as wins goes, but he has done so much with the sport, and he'd been there since the beginning. His father is already in the Hall of Fame. Waddell Wilson, I think a great selection to go in there, because if you look up his numbers, he may have won a bunch of races, but he's been affiliated with so many different teams and so many different winning combinations as an engine builder, as a car builder, as a crew chief. It's just an accomplishment to him, and there's no question that he should have been in there. And as far as Edsel Ford, if you think about the history of motor racing, or just the history of the automobile, that's the bloodline right there. So that was kind of neat to have him right there and sitting there. I actually sat behind him for most of the affair, which, again, I had to pinch myself, I think, a few times. But the Ford Motor Company, along with representatives, Toyota was there, Chevrolet was there. But when you think about auto racing, Ford was in it right from the beginning.
And Dino, I thought it was interesting when you did the piece in the Standard Speaker about going to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, getting your vote. I thought that could have taken up an entire page, but no, you shared some of that space for, of course, local coverage. You're talking about Joey Biazzi from Schuylkill County, racing USAC East Coast sprint cars. Interesting article on him, and you mentioned he had an injury, coming back from an injury and now having some success.
Yeah, Joey is from Mary D. He races with USAC, the United States Auto Club, and they have an Eastern division that runs here. They're wingless sprint cars. A couple of weeks back, at the beginning of the season, he had a nasty flip at Susquehanna Speedway, and it was just during warm-ups. And to see that the recovery that he made and how quickly he was able to come back and be able to get out there and win again, I think it was just a great story. And it's something I'll be working on in some of the upcoming weeks with the work I do with the Standard Speaker. Last year, finished second in the points to Stephen Dravecki.
Well, Dino, before we leave this time, I want to bring up that every time I ask about Pocono and you've been coming in here, you could be saying about the air show. You seem excited about that. It seems like a pretty cool event they're going to do in August, right?
Yeah, the Great Pocono Raceway Air Show. It's going to be the week after the IndyCar race. And there's a lot of hype coming up for that. I was mentioning all kind of aerobatic things. They're going to be doing some war reenactments, but they're going to be landing planes at the track. They got to land them somewhere. There's a couple of local airports. One of the things they're going to be doing is landing a plane on the front stretch on the back of a flatbed truck, which I think is pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Well, make sure you're keeping track with the national and local racing scene with Dino Alberto in the Standard Speaker and here on Community NEPA News and SSP TV News.